Welcome back, because today we are stepping into the most secretive power struggle happening in the modern world, one that barely makes headlines, yet quietly shapes oil prices, football clubs, and entire regional wars. Meet the three princes. Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, the ambitious crown prince trying to drag an oil kingdom into a shiny futuristic economy called Vision 2030. Mohammed bin Zayed of the UAE, the calm, calculating elder statesman who quietly built Dubai and Abu Dhabi into the Gulf's financial capital while everyone was still watching Saudi Arabia. And Tamim bin Hamad al-Thani of Qatar, the smallest player on paper, yet somehow the man who turned his tiny nation into a global media and football powerhouse. For years, the world assumed these three were simply Gulf brothers, standing shoulder to shoulder against common threats like Iran. But behind closed palace doors, a very different story was unfolding, one built on jealousy, economic warfare, and egos large enough to rival their oil reserves. Let us start where this rivalry first exploded into the open. In 2017, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt suddenly slammed their borders shut on tiny Qatar. Flights grounded, land crossings sealed. Even the shared blood between royal families did not stop it. The official reason given to the world was Qatar's support for the Muslim Brotherhood and its cozy ties with Iran. But here is what most people never realized. This was not really about ideology. It was a warning shot aimed squarely at Tamim, telling him that in the Gulf hierarchy, Doha was expected to know its place. For nearly 4 years, Qatar was economically strangled by its own neighbors, forced to fly food in from Turkey and Iran just to keep its supermarket shelves full. Yet instead of collapsing under pressure, something unexpected happened. Qatar got stronger. While the blockade dragged on, Doha quietly built new alliances with Turkey and Iran, poured billions into hosting the World Cup, and transformed Al Jazeera into one of the most watched news networks on the planet. By the time the blockade finally ended in 2021, Qatar had not been humbled at all. It had leveled up. And that is where things start getting genuinely interesting, because the crisis exposed the very first cracks between Saudi Arabia and the UAE themselves. Here is something most casual observers completely miss. Saudi Arabia and the UAE did not just team up against Qatar out of friendship. Reports suggest it was largely the UAE that pushed Riyadh into imposing that blockade in the first place. And yet, when Saudi Arabia later decided the standoff had gone on long enough and moved to reconcile with Doha in 2021, the UAE was reportedly far less enthusiastic, quietly dragging its feet on rebuilding ties. Two allies, same blockade, completely different endgames. That single disagreement cracked open a door that would never fully close again, because underneath the surface, Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Zayed were no longer simply partners. They were becoming competitors. For years, MBZ had quietly played something like a mentor figure to the younger MBS, guiding him through his early rise to power. But as bin Salman consolidated control inside the kingdom and began positioning Saudi Arabia as the natural leader of the entire Arab world, that mentorship dynamic started to feel less like guidance and more like a leash. And MBS, by most accounts, does not enjoy leashes. The real battleground turned out to be money, not missiles. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 is essentially a declaration that Riyadh intends to become the region's new hub for tourism, finance, and global business. The exact throne the UAE had already been sitting on for decades. Every glittering skyscraper Saudi Arabia builds in Riyadh is, whether officials admit it publicly or not, aimed directly at stealing investors, airlines, and tourists away from Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Imagine spending 30 years building the fanciest house on the block, only to watch your neighbor bulldoze his backyard and build something even bigger right next door, using your own blueprint. That tension did not stay confined to boardrooms for long. In Yemen, where Saudi Arabia and the UAE had once fought side by side against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels, cracks turned into something far more serious. Reports indicate Saudi forces at one point struck Emirati-trained southern forces on the ground before demanding those very units, along with their Emirati military advisors, leave the battlefield entirely. Let that sink in for a moment. Two so-called allies fighting the same war against the same enemy, yet turning their weapons toward each other's proxies on the same battlefield. If you think that sounds dramatic, wait until you hear what happened next, because this is where the rivalry stopped hiding altogether. In recent times, Saudi Arabia has dramatically shifted its regional posture, warming toward Qatar and Turkey, while its relationship with the UAE has grown visibly colder. Analysts increasingly describe an emerging alignment some have nicknamed the Axis of Ikhwan, referring to Saudi Arabia's growing tolerance of Muslim Brotherhood-linked groups abroad, even while the movement remains officially banned inside the kingdom itself. For the UAE, which built its entire modern identity around crushing political Islam and championing the Abraham Accords with Israel, this Saudi pivot feels less like diplomacy and more like betrayal. And when the Iran war reignited in recent months, cracks became impossible to hide, even in public. During a Gulf summit meant to project unity after Iranian strikes hit the region, senior Emirati officials openly criticized the Gulf bloc's response as one of the weakest in its history. Meanwhile, cameras captured Mohammed bin Salman personally greeting Qatar's Emir Tamim on the tarmac, with a warmth that felt almost performative, a not-so-subtle message aimed at Abu Dhabi. Three princes, one shrinking peninsula of influence, and an old alliance that increasingly looks like it is being held together by nothing more than shared borders and matching bank accounts. So here is the question worth sitting with. Is this rivalry simply business competition dressed up in royal robes, or is it the early tremors of a genuine Cold War forming right inside the world's most oil-rich region? Some experts believe personality is the real driver here, more than ideology or economics. Because in absolute monarchies, ego often becomes policy, and when three ambitious men with nearly unlimited resources all believe they alone should lead the Arab world, compromise becomes almost impossible. Saudi Arabia wants leadership, the UAE wants dominance without a crown, and Qatar, the smallest of the three, has quietly learned to survive by simply outlasting everyone else's mistakes.